Bambiz presents Elder Law Growth, the podcast that helps elder law and estate planning attorneys attract clients without wasting time or money. I'm your host, Jim Blake. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Elder Law Growth podcast presented by Bambiz, the team that helps elder law and estate planning attorneys grow their firms, fill their workshops, and connect with their communities. You can learn more at bambiz.net. Marketing that actually works. Today, we're joined by Steve Fretzin, a top legal business development coach, podcast host, and author of 101 Top Rainmakers: Secrets to Growing a Successful Law Practice. He works with attorneys to help them grow their firms, build their books, and take control of their futures without feeling like salespeople. In this episode, we're going to dive into what sets successful law firms apart and how you can apply those same mindset shifts and systems in your own practice. Welcome, Steve. I'm glad you're here. You've helped so many attorneys grow their firms so that they actually enjoy running them, but your story started in a pretty unexpected place. Could you give our listeners a quick overview of your journey and what led you into this world of coaching lawyers?
Yeah, there were really three key, and thank you for having me, Jim. I appreciate it, and excited to be here. Really, three central things happened in my life that really kind of defined how I went. I'm going to go through them very quickly, and I know one of them is going to be a sticking point. But in 1996, I was involved in a small plane crash in a suburb of Chicago. The plane was upside down, ripped apart inside of a house, and they dragged me out of there as a human pretzel. And I recovered from that with the understanding that life is very sensitive and you just don't know what's going to happen next, and that you really have to live it to the fullest and make it mean something. And so that really led me to my next point, which is I wanted to become great at sales and great at developing business. And so I hired a coach. That coach showed me things that I just couldn't see myself. The saying goes in marketing is it's hard to read the label from inside the bottle, right? And so I thought I was doing great because I made great money and I was a top rep with whatever company I was with. But ultimately, I just needed someone else's eyes. And so that really led me to want to be a coach and to say, hey, you know what you did for me, I want to do for others. And that led me into coaching and working in over 50 industries across mainly the Chicagoland area. And then in 2008, when the recession hit, that's when lawyers started coming out of the woodwork and saying, hey, look, business has slowed down. The phone's not ringing. I need help. You were highly referred. And so I started working with a lawyer, then two, then a firm, then another firm. And it just kind of took off. And within about 16 months, about 85% of my business was lawyers and law firms. So those were the three key sort of areas that I went through, creating a sales-free model for working with professional services, and then realizing, hey, lawyers don't go to law school to learn the business side of things. They don't really learn it at the law firm level, and they also don't want to be salespeople. So what's the fix? And the fix is what I'm teaching lawyers every day, which is how to do it with feeling ethical and feeling really, really positive about it being more of a problem-solving sort of a place to be than a sales role. And so it's been an absolute pleasure serving the legal community for the last 17 years.
No, that's great. That's a great story. You might have said it and I might have missed it there, but what year was the plane crash?
It was 1996, which makes me very old.
No, I was yeah. So I moved to Chicago in 1999.
Okay.
So I went to high school in Chicagoland area. I went to college in Illinois.
Okay.
And so I was trying to see if would that have been on the news? What suburb?
Oh, it was on the news. Yeah, it was in Crystal Lake. But I grew up in Highland Park in the North Shore, and another sort of interesting thing was, I had broken both my arms, and so my dad pushed the phone up to my ear and said, "Talk to Bob. He's your lawyer." And who's the top aviation lawyer in Chicago and somewhat nationally? And it's Bob Clifford. And everyone in Chicago knows who Bob Clifford is. And that was sort of my first, other than having a lawyer father, was really my first time really dealing with a lawyer and having to engage with a lawyer. And so now when I talk about personal branding and law firm branding and business development, I go back to that fact that my father didn't call around. He knew exactly who to connect me with because of how that lawyer had branded himself and his firm as the go-to place for aviation nationally.
And also too, part of what you were saying earlier, where lawyers don't want to sound salesy,
Yeah,
and that's one of the things. Obviously, we do the marketing side of things, and some pushback that we're always getting is, you know, well, I don't know if I want to follow up with people this many times. I don't know if I don't want to sound like a salesperson. I don't want to sound scammy. I don't want to
yeah,
bother people, and those are some of the things that, I mean, in my personal opinion, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like that's something that they kind of need to get over, honestly, right? Because the successful firms that are out there have really established follow-up procedures, and they
yeah,
have, not I wouldn't call it aggressive, but they have a tried and true way of taking somebody from lead to a retained client.
yeah,
And once they can get that process, in my mind, locked down, they're going to see a lot more success. So, and I'm sure
yeah.
we can talk more about that
Well,
during.
I'll just share that sometimes it's not about what you say, it's how you say it. And the follow-ups that I'm teaching lawyers is, hey, wanted to check in. You may have not seen my initial email, and I want to make sure, there wasn't a miscommunication, and here's my email. And then if they don't follow up with that, like there's going to be continued very soft and apologetic ways of getting through so it doesn't feel pressure and it doesn't feel high sales. And I think lawyers can better buy into methodologies and language when you tweak it so that it fits their personality or it fits a non-salesy sort of agenda, and you get the same or better results than being aggressive, because I think aggression today is pushing people away. I know, like back in the day when a salesperson would approach me, that was sort of, the thing, and the aggressive was sort of what we had to deal with. And today people are going to immediately reject that if they're feeling aggressively sold to. They're just going to go run for the hills. There's not a lot of people that can get aggressively sold to and go, thank God somebody's high pressuring me into something. Like that's not going to happen in today's, day and age.
Yeah, and to go into a little bit more, some of the things that we're always saying, as well as like the in our world. So this would be different if it was just a cold outreach, which they're typically not doing anyways. But these are
Right.
people that have already raised their hand, right? Like you don't even need to be aggressive. You can just literally say like, you had reached out to us. We want to make sure that we're doing you right.
Yep.
So so
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
not interested now, just tell us, like it's just like, we're not trying to bother you. We're not trying to do anything. We just want to make sure that, you're feeling well supported, and that, we're either answering your question, we're helping you out with whatever you need, or, not right now. And that's
Yep.
an okay answer too. So,
Yep. 100%.
well, yeah, let's talk about some of the things that successful firms do a little bit differently. So obviously you've worked with some of the top performing attorneys across the country. Maybe share with our listeners some of the things that they're doing differently that others aren't.
Yeah. I mean, I love things in threes, and so I'll give you the three simple ones. Number one is the mindset, business development, marketing, branding, whether it's a law firm or a lawyer, doesn't happen without a positive mindset. Doesn't happen without an interest and ambition to grow and want to find better ways of doing it and more efficient ways of doing it. Business development can be an absolute time suck when it's done ineffectively, without a plan, without process, just winging it. And lawyers can spend, 2, 3, 400 hours a year of billable time running around to conferences, running around to networking events, trying all kinds of marketing. We call random acts of marketing, right? And they're not getting the results they're looking for. So either they quit or they do that for 10 years and maybe they get some growth, and maybe, that's, they're going to eventually, blind squirrel eventually finds a nut, that type of thing. But it's really about how the mindset is, hey, I'm interested in learning. I'm interested in kind of becoming a student of the game, which is sort of my second point. Is there's a lot of content out there. There's videos, books, articles, podcasts, and mentors and coaches, and places you can go and learn how to do business development, how to do marketing and branding as a learned skill. The old adage of that's a natural born rainmaker or whatever. Yeah, there are people that have better personalities than others, but nobody's born with that. It's all learned. And some of the strongest clients I have are introverts that hate business development. And we turn the corner between their mindset, giving them plans and processes to follow, becoming a student of the game, and then working to improve performance over time. So if a lawyer goes out and is going to, let's say, ask more questions than pitch, and they get a better result because they didn't talk so much and they listened more, they're going to want to continue that. They're going to want to, improve, but also continue to do more of that and understand that this is about the client. It's not about you and your prowess in the space. In reality, it's about asking, listening, understanding, and empathy. And that's what's driving my clients to great success is spinning the whole idea of sales on its end. And I don't know why more lawyers aren't doing it, because it feels better and you get better results, less time.
No, that's for sure. And one of the things you mentioned at the beginning, and I think this kind of plays in, and it's something that we see sometimes, maybe their mindset is with good intention, but they never implement.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on those that, man, they're a professional self-development person,
Yeah.
but they never take action on the things that they're learning during that process?
Yeah, I mean, you can say, you know what, I've decided I'm going to lose some weight and I'm going to start that in 6 months, right? Never going to happen, right? I'm going to start exercising in 6 months. No, you do things now or you don't do them. That's just how it plays out. I think the challenge that they have is that they don't have the plans and the systems and the accountability in place. And I think lawyers feel like they're on an island and they don't have the accountability. They don't have the plan and the accountability to get it done. And so then that's why it sometimes falls to the rear. Plus they're busy with billable hour work and other things. And business development is always going to get pushed to the bottom if it isn't pushed to the top. So I think one of the books I send people, by the way, with my materials, all the books I've written and stuff, is Getting Things Done by David Allen. And one of the reasons I send that is because it's very hard to do business development if you don't have time. If you can't craft and create time and carve out that time, it's very challenging to do business development. So we need to sometimes look at a lawyer's day or week, figure out, are you having the day or is the day having you? Repeatedly figure out what can be delegated, automated, sent out to marketing, whatever it might be, because we need to have a bank of time. Otherwise, again, it's just not going to get done.
What do you think stops some firms, though, and maybe they're resisting the idea of business development? Because some people might be just anti-business development or growth planning.
Yeah, I think they're just like they've been successful not doing it. They get referred. Like I've got a client right now who works with me. He's in one of my Rainmaker roundtables, so he is interested in business development and growth. But the things that I recommend that he does generally go on deaf ears because he's got more business coming in than he can handle. And he's doing no marketing. His website's not great. He has such an amazing reputation. And my concern for him is that it's great now, but what is in store in the next, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and how is he gonna, perform there? And if you're not marketing and doing BD now and getting organized and orchestrated, bringing up the youth, in some instances, then you're not really preparing for the future or preparing for the sale of his firm or whatever direction he goes. So I think it's a lot of just, fat and happy, or it's a lot of just, hey, this is the way it's always been done, right? That's something that I hear on a regular basis.
Let's dive into that. So that's a pushback we hear a lot, which is, I'm very busy now. I don't have the capacity for any more growth. I'm just too busy. And you mentioned a couple things that you said, like that you mentioned to them if they say that, and or like what the long-term effect of that is. It may not be an issue today, but it might be an issue 6 months, 2 years, 5 years from now. But tell me more of like the immediate, how do you respond to that? Well, Steve, I can't do this right now. I'm just too busy as it is. Like, What's your initial go-to to combat that?
I mean, number one is, are they interested in growth? Are they interested in going from 3 million to 5 million to 10 million, or do they just want to stay at 3 million and that's the right number? If you're staffed up for that and you've got business coming in, I'm not saying don't look ahead or don't plan for it or work towards it. But ultimately, you might wait for business to slow down and then start making some phone calls to some clients, and then it picks back up. Unless there's a recession like there was in 2008, where that just wasn't the case, or the pandemic or whatever next is going to hit us, then they're sort of in a pickle. If they say we do want to grow, then I say, all right, so let's look at why are you so busy, and why are you as the managing partner billing 2,000-3,000 hours a year? Like there's something broken here, and it typically has to do with lack of systems and lack of proper staffing. And so I'm not going to work with someone in that position. What I'm going to probably do is refer them to someone that can help them get their technology, their tech stack, get their organization and systems in place, get maybe a few more hires so that they can handle the business, that alleviates the managing partner who should be out building business to go do that. Because right now, as it sits, that individual's, not really, it's like Michael Jordan on the bench, right? They're not out in front of the clients doing the BD and the marketing that's going to help get to from 3 million to 5 million, because they don't have the internal workings to get to manage what they currently have, let alone more.
So if you're thinking estate planning law firm right now, and you're thinking, okay, what does a firm look like from systems and staffing and attorneys if they're at that place where they can really just exponentially grow? When you're saying like, hey, you need to get yourself to X number of attorneys, this number of staff, these are key hires, this tech stack.
Yeah.
And in a nutshell, what does that look like for our listeners so that they can understand like, this is where I need to go so that I can take it to the next level?
Yeah. So you have technology and automation in place that's handling a lot of the low level, work, whether that's invoicing, whether that's communications, CRM, making sure that you understand that where everyone's, working and everything's communicating properly. That type of an automation. And again, it could be Clio, it could be whatever it is that the tech stack is, and maybe the Grow, or maybe you're throwing Lawmatics on top. I've been doing Lawmatics for, 5 years, and I'm not a lawyer, but I absolutely love it. So if you get the tech stack in place, and then you realize, hey, I'm doing way too much work as the managing partner, and I'm the breadwinner for the firm, or I have someone else that is a potential breadwinner, can bring in Rainmake and all that, and I have to invest in that person to get them up and out and give them. And then where do those hours go? So you're gonna either have to hire an additional associate, maybe more paralegals. How is that back end work getting done, and how's it being delegated? And the people that can automate and delegate and create systems, they're winning all the time. You see them; they're the ones that are highly successful and take great vacations, lots of time with the family. They can go away from the firm and know that it's running smoothly for weeks. And that's really how you've sort of made it. And then it's up to you how much you want to scale, because you've got all the systems in place. You can go to 5, 10, 15, 20 attorneys if you want, based on the fact that everything is systematized, like a Toyota factory, versus it being like an old fashioned law firm where no one knows what's going on with anyone else, and there's a lack of communication and system.
So to recap that a little bit, tech stack, having that Lawmatics, having that also the sales side of it, the Clio Grow or similar type of systems, bringing in like an associate attorney. And then I don't know if I missed it or not there, but like, what about intake person?
I mean, again, you can have VAs, you can have AI, you can have an actual like manager of the office who handles inbound calls. I guess it depends on how many calls you're getting in, if it's 1 or 2 a day, or it's 20 a day, and who's handling those. And obviously intake is a part of sales and business development. So that's the first representation of the firm and how they're going to be successful. That person needs to be trained. I mean, you even have an onboarding and training program to ensure that everybody is singing the same song, working the same direction, the culture is solid. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here, which is why it's so difficult for lawyers to achieve greatness in these firms, because there are moving parts and there's a lot of different channels. And so they need to think about hiring a coach, a mentor, leader. And I don't do it all. Like, I'm not handling tech stacks and I'm not handling marketing and all these other things, but there are amazing consultants and coaches and mentors that can help show you the way. But you're just saying, I'll figure it out. Have you yet? If not, you haven't figured out. You probably won't figure it out. So maybe go to talk to someone or pay someone to help you set it up. Like, I'm not going to set up Lawmatics myself. I'm not a details person. And without that help, I'm not doing Lawmatics. Like, I'm still, 5 years ago in the Stone Age. So lawyers want to say they can do it all themselves. But again, if I, am I going to do surgery on myself? Probably not. You need to call in a surgeon, right? And so, don't be afraid. For marketing, for business development, IT, whatever it is, you need to bring in the experts.
And you mentioned briefly AI, and that's a hot button topic right now. Have you seen any firms in this space do anything crazy with AI so far that's really helped them grow?
Not crazy so far. I'm seeing more people dabbling. I see a lot of like when I went to the legal tech show here in Chicago over the winter, it was like 70 or something % AI companies with new technology for lawyers. So, and then there's lawyers that I'm working with and they're like, oh, I'm setting up a second business to do AI for XYZ and connecting attorneys and all these things that are popping up. So, I'm not seeing anyone that's saying, AI is running my business now and we're, making billions or anything. It's not there yet. But it's definitely the solo and the smaller firms that are more nimble, they're dabbling in it, at least from my perspective, a little bit more. And I think big law has departments that are going in and trying things out and testing the waters a bit, but I'm not really privy to that. And if you get AI down to a science where no matter what someone says, the prompt is going to be responsive and handle it appropriately, get it to the right channel. All right, well, you've just solved a problem for intake and you've got the best salesperson in the world to funnel the business to the right person or to set up a meeting or whatever it might be. Or you might think that's insane. And if they're not talking to a human being, it's a big mistake. Well, that remains to be seen.
That's the same kind of stuff that we see. We see lots of talk, right? And little action. And there has been some things. I think the biggest thing right now is just finding out just ways it can save you time.
Yeah.
Right. And I think right now that there's a lot of different ways that they can go out and do that. So well, let's transition to what happens when attorneys are feeling stuck. So maybe someone, they're feeling stuck. I like action things that people can just take away from this podcast and start doing how to get out of that slump. So what's a small step an estate planning or elder law attorney can take this week, right? And maybe help them not be as overwhelmed as they were before they listened to this podcast.
I think sometimes we need to be inspired. And so, listening to podcasts, whatever it might be, start just getting that information in your ears when you're in the car, when you're walking the dog, when you're working and you just have it in the background in books on tape and reading books and reading articles. Just again, how can you start to get inspired and start feeling more positive about it and picking up tips, right? So you're asking me about tips and I'm saying, get tips from places like this. And I think that's a great starting point. The other is start to emulate the people who are doing it best. So if there's estate planners that you're jealous of or that you think are really crushing it, and you kind of point at them and say, that's the GOAT, they're owning this market or they're doing really well. Start to follow them on LinkedIn and look at what they're doing and don't copy them or steal from them, but start to get inspired that, hey, this is something that I think we could do. They're doing videos on TikTok. And they're doing it for a reason. They're getting great responses. And maybe I need to step up and start thinking about content creation and how I can start competing in the space. And if you're not up for video, what are you up for? But I think you're either playing the game or you're sitting on the sidelines. And I think people need to get inspired to start playing in the game.
No, I love it. That reminds me a lot of some of the stuff that you hear from Tony Robbins and things like that, right? Where you're just going to model the masters, right? So they're going to look out there. They're going to find somebody that they resonate with that's a step ahead or 5 steps ahead or 10 steps ahead of them, right? And then they're just going to model it, not steal it or plagiarize it, but
get ideas, right? Get ideas. And I'll say, all right, if you're looking to grow your law practice and you don't have a business development plan, you're just out winging it, right? You haven't really thought about what a business development plan would look like and what it would tell you what to do. It's like me tossing a compass at you and saying, hey, go from the bottom of Africa to the top. You're going to be dead fairly quickly, right? Without any provisions, a guide, any of that. But if I give you a full service guide and GPS and all the provisions, you're going to be in great shape. A plan is setting it up to really understand where am I now and where do I want to go. And if a lawyer wants to talk to me about a plan or they want me to send them some content on how to write a plan, I'm happy to share. These are things that you don't need to hire a coach to write a plan.
Just take action.
What
would be one mindset shift? We've talked a lot about mindset shift that someone could make today to start them on this journey.
I would say it's really valuing your time. And you value your time in billable hours, you value your time in the work you do, flat fee, whatever it might be. Your time has a lot of meaning and a lot of value. And when you do things in an inefficient way, whether that's the way that you're running your firm, the way that you're doing estate planning, the way that you're marketing, business developing, whatever it might be, you're just haphazardly joining groups and going to conferences and doing things that you're really not respecting your time. You're just kind of throwing it into the air and hoping that it lands where it's supposed to land. So I would say if your time matters to you, then you should be doing things with intention through planning and process and systems and proven methodologies, the better you are at marketing, business developing, and bringing people in and valuing your time, the more people you can help, the more lives you're touching. So see it from that perspective, that you're not helping enough people and they're going to a hack, or they're not doing anything at all, or they're getting ripped off because they're getting overcharged for a poor product. Things that you guys see out in the marketplace where you know you're better, but you're not getting it because you're not respecting your time and how you're putting things forward.
They just got to expand that network and make an impact in their communities. And I think that's all these lawyers that we're working with anyways, like they, at the end of the day, I think that's really what they want, right? How can I make a bigger impact in my community that I'm serving? So, well, let's go ahead and find out a little bit more about how our listeners can connect with you, check out your books, tune into the podcast. Where can they go to learn more?
Easiest way, go to bethatlawyer.com. That's my website for a blog, podcasts, information on my books. You can get any of the 5 books on Amazon if you just go to Amazon, type in Steve Fretzin. And of course, check out the Be That Lawyer podcast. I'm 540 episodes in. I interview top rainmakers, top experts like Jim. In fact, we got to get you on the show, right? Get you going with my audience. They love you. And ultimately, I'm pretty easy to find on LinkedIn. I'm all over LinkedIn. People say I'm probably too much on LinkedIn. So if I have to calm that down a bit, I'm not sure, but I'm not hard to find.
Awesome. Well, that's it for this episode of Elder Law Growth Podcast, brought to you by Bambiz. If you're ready to grow your firm using tools that actually work, check out bambiz.net. Big thanks again to Steve for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the show and leave a review. It helps more attorneys like you find us. Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and keep showing up for your community. Thanks for listening.
That's a wrap on another episode of the Elder Law Growth Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things marketing for elder law and estate planning law firms. Here you can find all of the tools and skills you need to market your own practice without wasting your time. If you like this podcast, please leave us a review wherever you're listening. And if you're ready to take the pressure off and let our team handle your marketing, visit bambiz.net and book a free call with us today.